microphone. Think about your thoughts. Hi, good morning. Take three here. This is video 690. Hard to believe it. There's almost like 700 videos. Darn computer's doing it again. No, I don't want to update. Sorry. I'm not going to redo the video. My computer has decided now is the time to update. Not right now. Anyway, video 690. And this video is going to be about the chase. I was reading an article the other day about the chases that we have in our life, and probably for chase you could come up with maybe pursuit. I would say in a lighthearted way, maybe interests, but this replied specifically to the idea of a man chasing a woman or a woman chasing a man in a romantic or a sexual sense. Probably in a romantic sense. Sexual would be like lust or desire in a relationship. I guess the chase is a good euphemism for that sense of, oh, I want to be with that person. I'm going to pursue them. And a pursuit, in this case, is again a romantic person to person chase, not necessarily like I'm going to pursue a new job or I'm in pursuit of I'm looking for a better car, but in a way I guess it can apply, but in this case it's romance. And from a transgender point of view, what we pursued, who we pursued, changes, may have changed from when we were younger to where we are now. And I do apologize the up the nose view here. But in my situation growing up, on my block where I lived in North Fort Lauderdale, over and to the right was my best friend Amy, who I ran into a couple of years later when I was in middle school. But at the time, I'm trying to think of how old I was. I must have been under than 10. When do you start school? 7? 8? I was old enough to ride my bike or walk to her house, if that says anything. So I must have been old enough that my parents felt confident that I could say, hey, I'm going to go play over at Amy's house and whatnot. And she was really the first person that maybe I felt not necessarily not a sexual attraction, but that you kiss someone that girls kiss each other, French people kiss each other, as Europeans kiss each other as a sign of respect or greeting. I don't know. I don't know. To us in America, kissing each other when you greet's kind of like dogs sniffing asses. You just don't do it. But Amy and I knew she was a girl, but I didn't know what girl meant. In the same way that I knew I was a boy, and I didn't necessarily know what being a boy meant. But I knew that kissing was funny, and we would kiss just as friends. We really didn't know what we were doing. It wasn't like your first kiss or your first. I mean, it was totally innocent and just it's what people do. We kissed, da 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 da. A quick peck on the cheek. Okay. Whereas when I got a little bit older, and the girl across the street, and I'm gonna say her name was Chrissy. I don't remember her exactly her name. She was the one who we would play house in family, and we would play dress up, and of course she would dress me up in her clothes, and I loved it. I didn't know why. And I got to play mom. I got to be a mom. I got to be a sister. I got to be a grandmother. I got to be a lot of things that, hell, I'm only 50. I might still be a grandmother someday. I don't know. But, that by the time I got to Chrissy, a year or two later, and I was definitely in middle school then. Sorry, it's laptop's on my belly. I got a lot of jelly in my belly. We're going to bounce. Um, Sorry. by the time I had gotten to Chrissy, there I was beginning to know a little more about gender norms and stereotypes, and to put an age to it. Excuse me, I'm gonna fart. Felt good. More room out than in, I always say. Um, but sorry, I derailed myself. Self-defense mechanism. When I'm about to bring up something unpleasant, I derail it, make it into something funny. By the time I had gotten to Chrissy, I knew more about gender expectations and norms. You know, there was no hugging. There was hugging, but there was no kissy kissy. It wasn't something cute and innocent. And obviously, as I had shared previously in a story, once Chrissy's mom found out that Chrissy was putting makeup on me and I was wearing her clothes, she put a halt to it. And Chrissy and I were told not to do that anymore. But I can remember, I don't think it was at my house, it was at Chrissy's house. We would dance, we'd put on our K-Tel record and listen to KC and the Sunshine Band, again, putting a date stamp on it. And, shake, shake, shake. Shake, 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 shake your booty. I forgot where I was going with this. Sorry. The chase, pursuit. I didn't have any romantic, it wasn't a romance, it was a friendship. And later in the school year, and then this must have been about first grade, maybe second grade, more like first grade. Um, a new girl moved in the neighborhood, and she was Irish, so she had a real thick Irish accent. And Chrissy became friends with her. I'm gonna call her Kristen. I don't think that was her name, but I'll call her Megan. That's a good Megan. It's a good Irish name. And Megan and Chrissy hit it off because they were two girls, and it was weird because I was excluded now. I was the other. Girls and boys, and girls did stuff together. Da 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 da. So I guess I felt a lot of jealousy, and maybe that's when I really started up the please please God turn me into a girl campaign. You know, if I was good enough, or I was pure enough, or I was clean enough, or I was a devout Catholic enough, God would turn me into a girl, because God listens, and God does wonderful things. God flooded the earth. God, 40 days and 40 nights of rain. God did so many wonderful things. God parted the sea. Surely my own happiness, if I was a good Catholic person, God would turn me into a girl. He had the ability. And Jesus, too, for that matter. Jesus cured the sick, walked on water, made water into wine, raised the dead, loaves and fishes. Jesus did miracles all the time for people who really needed it. So Jesus got my back. Jesus would turn me into a girl too. No. But as far as the chase goes, I'm trying to think of when was my next girlfriend. And I'd have to think really hard about it. I'm sorry I didn't think this out ahead of time. You know how I feel about that. I'd much rather give you an off-the-cuff video than a premeditated one. But I'm trying to think. Probably the next. Well, I went through middle school. In middle school, I realized again more of the differences of boys and girls. And while I secretly wanted to be a girl, and in the latter half of like 7th grade is when I found out about, and I made mention of this too in a video, I came across a magazine at the hair cutting place that had an article about a transgender girl. And I was like, oh, that's what I am. I'm transgender. There's a name for it. And more importantly, there's other people. Can I move to France so I can be with Emile, the trans girl, and, whatnot. but still no pursuit, no chasing. You know what I mean? I didn't want to. While I wanted to be a girl, I didn't want to be in a relationship with one. I didn't. You know what I mean? There wasn't that chase. There wasn't boy chasing girl, girl chasing boy. Blah 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 blah. It wasn't until high school, 10th grade, that there was a girl. Well, let me rewind that. My memory's now clicking. There was a girl. Her name was Amanda, and in elementary school in 5th grade, I would go over to. We had assignments and projects we worked on, and I could kind of see myself pursuing her as a boyfriend girlfriend, but we never went to that level. We stayed on just friends. And again, I can remember a sleepover. My I had a really cool gifted teacher when I was in elementary school, and we had a sleepover one night at the school, and we did stuff. And one of the exercises was we made clowns, or I'm trying to think. We made clowns out of like styrofoam cups. You would put the styrofoam cup in the oven, and it would, like, because of its own weight, it would sag in on itself, and then you would decorate it like a clown's face. And then we were one of the moms had volunteered to do makeup, like clown makeup. If we drew a design, and then she would do our faces that way. And for the boys, it was kind of funny, imagine your clown face or whatnot. But then what I noticed is after that was done, the girls all, I can remember it now as if it was yesterday, the girls got together and did their makeup like normal. Girl makeup, eyeshadow, lipstick, da 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 da. And I as an 8th grader, yeah, no, damn, it's still elementary school. 5th grade, sorry. I can remember just being so in awe and so enamored at what they could do. They could do all the things that a boy could do mentally, even though stereotypically at the time, girls were thought of as, you don't do science and whatnot, math. But they could. I knew they had that potential. And they could wear guys' clothes, and, it was chick. But then they could be girls, they could be women, and it was something I could not do. And again, it brought up that anger and resentment, and, why God? There must be something wrong with me. I must be evil, you know. Because surely God would not let me suffer, right? Um, so even though with Amanda, the girl, I had sort of a what could have been a boyfriend girlfriend, it wasn't. And sexually, I wasn't sexually attracted to girls. Um, Now, moving on to middle school, which is where I was before, I apologize for the shortcut. Um, again, free time was at the skating rink, going skating. Um, I was envious of the couples only song, because there wasn't a girl for me. I wasn't interested. You know what I mean? I didn't have sexual urges towards girls. I wanted to be a girl. And I didn't think about it. I didn't think it through as far as, if I was a girl and I had the body of a girl, would I be attracted to guys? I didn't make that connection. I didn't think it through all the way. I had guy friends, obviously. Not many, but I had a few. And my best friend Ken, who's awesome, still have him today. Talked with him a couple days ago. We'd spend the night and we'd both sleep in his bed, and, I turned one way, he turned the other way. We didn't think anything about it. There was no sexual, I was not sexually attracted to men in any way, shape, or form, in the same way that I was not attracted to women in any way, shape, or form. And that pretty much continued through middle school. And then when we got to high school, Is where I was about 10 minutes ago. There was one girl, and I'm trying to remember her name. It's in 10th grade. Oh, I can't remember her name. I always wondered what became. I can't remember what's her name. Um, but she was probably the closest. We both loved Doctor Who, and she attributed herself to be Perry, and I guess I attributed myself to be Colin Baker or Sylvester McCoy, which would have been the seventh Doctor. The sixth and the seventh Doctor at the time. We both loved science fiction. We both loved the same stories. Um, the group that I ran at the time, my friend Brett, we all read the Piers Anthony Incarnations of Immortality series, and my friend Brett, was Thanatos. She was Lachesis or Clotho, and I was Kronos. And so, lunchtime we would talk and we would share our geeky tales. And I remember the day she started to wear makeup and she started to want to hang out with me, and she like was pursuing me. So I guess I was pursued. But I didn't know how to act. By that time, by high school time, I had pretty much tucked my transgender feelings, my gender dysphoria, sort of deep down inside me, and I didn't, I didn't, I didn't deal with it. It was something. Okay, I rationalized it as I'm gonna do this one day when I'm older. It's not something I can do right now, so I might as well enjoy life as best I can. It's a pretty mature attitude for a teenager, I think. So I kind of shrugged her off, and I would meet her later. I'd meet her about 10 years later. But that was it. There was no, again, in high school, I didn't have any, I didn't have a desire. My junior year, Brett had his senior prom. He didn't go to prom. He and I went to the our local Grand Prix Racerama off Sterling Road in Florida. Still there today. I think it goes under a different name though, but basically at the time it was the largest go-kart track in South Florida, and they had two different huge video game rooms. I mean, you literally could go there and have a lot of fun, and that's what we did. That's what we did for his senior prom. And as it turns out, I went there again when it was my senior prom. Didn't have as much fun. Brett wasn't there. But, I didn't have that desire to date. I didn't have that desire to pursue anybody. Um, my sister, when we were in high school, she had her Sweet 16 party. And I was oh God, I was so envious. I was so envious of my sister. Her Sweet 16 party with all the balloons, and my dad, he is still is, he loves an extravaganza. He loves an event that he can, he likes to go all out. And so my sister's Sweet 16 party, her dress was beautiful. I mean, it almost was like a quinceañera, I suppose. But I mean, beautiful. The food, oh my gosh, it was so wonderful. And all of her friends, and of course, they were all high school girls in the makeup, in the dresses, and the heels, and all the stereotypical shit that we eat up. Um, and I think the night of it, um, I just stayed in my room and cried because it was something that I would never experience. And it was something that I knew I wanted so badly. Ooh, I repressed that. Oh, golly. It's therapy. Um, and it was something in my household, and it's going to be stereotypical, but my sister was always my sister was always on a pedestal. I remember when it came to chores, my sister did the dusting and I did the vacuuming because it was physical. Um, my sister brushed the pool. She had the net. She had to scoop the leaves out of the pool. And I had to vacuum the pool because it was physical. My sister did cut part of the grass, and I had to do I did cut part of the grass, but then I had to do all the weeding because it was physical. There were things that my sister got out of because it was, I was the boy and she was the girl, and maybe there's some jealousy there. But then I think about growing up, my sister, she got to decorate her room. She had a pretty room that, of course, changed with her as she was a young girl and then a teenage girl and then a young woman. You know, there was never a question. Whereas for me, you know, I didn't have that. I didn't have that. And it, much like it is today, I imagine girls and boys are treated, differently. But I just remember all the stuff that, man, I wish I had. I did repress that memory of her sweet 16. Nobody gave a shit when I turned 15, 16, 17, or 18. You know what I mean? Normal. But for a girl, 16. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. So the chase. We're talking about relationships and dating. Uh, in high school, again, other than the one girl, really was nothing. And maybe I had kept myself more into diversions. I joined scouting. I tried Cub Scouting when I was younger and I didn't like it. And I did Boy Scouting. I started Boy Scouting in middle school and kept it up into high school, where I was a junior assistant scout. I was an Eagle Scout. Sorry, I'm bouncing. And I was a junior assistant scoutmaster for a year. So I mean, my weekends were going away, and I did Order of the Arrow. I was a chapter chief, Order of the Arrow. Um, while my friends didn't goofed around and played around, I kind of was doing scouting, and then when scouting kind of petered out, in my junior and senior year, that's when I started to work, and just didn't really think about girls or boys. I didn't have that sort of relationship. And I certainly, when it came prom time, I didn't want to wear a tux and in a corsage for a girl that I had just no interest in. No interest in. Maybe I was in my own world, and maybe I repressed some things, I don't know. But I had no relationship. We're talking about the chase. And then we got to college, and my freshman year of college, I was in Air Force ROTC, and there was one girl, Wendy, who I thought was pretty cool, and I felt like we could have hit it off. But I walked somewhat of a razor's edge with Air Force ROTC, much like scouting was sort of a hyper masculine. The Air Force was also hyper masculine for me. I was more interested in that than the chase. And it really wasn't until I dropped out of ROTC, once I realized what I was. Of course, I knew I was transgender. Right, I knew I was transgender in 7th grade. but I had repressed it and boxed it up, and then I got to the point where I could do something about it in college, and when I was a freshman in college, and then all hell went to shit. I dropped out of ROTC, and that really angered my dad and my stepmom. My mom was okay with it, but they just didn't understand why. You know, I was a second lieutenant in the Air Force. Why? Why would I drop out of the military? What? Why? To them, I was on a course to go to the academy and to become a captain or a colonel. And that's the path they set before me. You know, and either they didn't know or didn't care about what I wanted, and I have to take ownership of taking my transgender feelings and tightening them up within me and not sharing them. And of course, in my sophomore year of college, before things went to shit, my second year of college was really when I was able to unpack a lot of things. Transgender was one of them. Trying to figure out my feelings, my sexuality. Asking myself for the first time, what did I want to do? And how could I do it? And recognizing that at the time, going into being a career Air Force person at the time, was just a continuation of the false male self that I was at that time. And what did I want to do? It really fucked me up. I mean, it really messed me up. And so, my parents, my dad, he wasn't going to pay for college anymore. You know, to them, I screwed up my chances to go to the academy. I screwed up my, schooling. I mean, me dealing with that and unpacking a lot of stuff that dealt with my parents' divorce. My parents got divorced when I was in middle school, and basically, my dad had really pulled a number on me and turned me against my mom. And so, from middle school to second year of college, I didn't talk to my mom. I didn't know my mom. And so, again, that second year of college, as I was opening up and pulling apart this tangled skein of my life and trying to make sense of it all and growing a lot as a person, you know. My dad cut me off. And I've said it before, I often wonder what had happened, what would have happened if I had stayed in Atlanta when I was in my 20s and started Hormones. The Atlanta gay community was big enough at the time. I could have found something somewhere with somebody and transitioned and whatnot. How different would my life have been then? But back to the chase. I'm sorry, we're talking about the chase. So Air Force ROTC, I kind of was attracted to this girl Wendy, but I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. I knew at that time I was transgender and I was trying to figure that out, and I knew that getting into a relationship was not the best thing to do. Plus, as I left the world of ROTC, all of the friendships and friendships that I had made at the detachment, the Air Force detachment, that was thrown out the window because to them I was a reject, I was defective, right? I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. So, in my second year of college is when I began to explore who and what I was and what I liked, and I was so golly, I can remember. I remember the dorm that I was in, I had the opportunity in between my ninth and my 10th grade year, or not 9 and 10, freshman and sophomore year at college, to live by myself for the summer. And I had the opportunity to just explore cross dressing, everything in the world. Everything in the world was open to me. I had the experience to do that. It was nice. I also got involved in a Rocky Horror cast, which is a petri dish, if not a sandbox, a petri dish for experimentation and exploration on a lot of different fronts: sexual orientation, gender issues, drugs. Didn't do any drugs, happy to say. But it was a wonderful opportunity to explore and expand my horizons and to see what I liked and didn't like. And so, by the time my tenth year came, I keep saying 10, like 9 and 10. By the time my second year of college came around, I had a much better idea of who and what I was and what I was looking for. And pursuit. I keep on forgetting we're talking about sexual pursuits. Um, in my sophomore year, I didn't sleep around. I wasn't a slut. I wasn't a whore. I wasn't a gigolo. I don't know what the male counterpart of a slut is. Um, but then I met this girl, and I'm trying to think of her real name. I'm gonna call her Nancy, although that wasn't it. She played Janet on the cast, and she was really kind of cool. She knew who I was. She knew I was like trans-ish. I was young trans. Yeah, I can't. Natalie. Her name was Natalie. Bing, 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 bing. Um, she was awesome. Problem was she was 10 years older than I was. I was 21, she was 33. Um, and so it really didn't jive well, but she gave me a lot of freedom, and maybe I chased her, I pursued her. I tried to think of, that really was probably the next chase where I pursued someone. And we hooked up for a little while, and in more ways than one, if you know what I mean. But, you know, it wasn't going to work out because we were just on two different timelines. Um, and so I left Atlanta in the early 90s. It was after my second year of college, and I was just burnt out. Um, Usually, you go to school at Georgia Tech, is where I went, and you go to school for, um, you know, 3 terms, 3 quarters, and then you have the summer off to rest and recoup. And my parents would have nothing to do with it. They wanted me to push on. And so I went for 2 straight years of college straight, and I burned myself out. I was trying to figure out who and what I was gender wise, who and what I was sexual wise, who and what I was wanted to do with myself. And it literally was like, I'm going to say, like a rubber band. You keep stretching and you keep stretching and you keep stretching, and it breaks. And so I snapped mentally. And luckily, my mom was there to help pick up the pieces. I spent almost a year with my mom, and that was another experience of learning and whatnot. And I went back to the grocery store that I worked at when I was a kid and got my old job back, believe it or not. And that's when the next chase occurred. It was with a girl named Allison. And, um, God has a great sense of humor. But Allison's father was transgender. And so I had a chance to enter into a relationship with someone, and they didn't know who and what I was. I didn't necessarily know who and what I was. And Allison and I really connected on a lot of different levels. She wasn't happy with her situation. She wanted to go into the military and just disappear. She didn't like her family, etc., etc. So, the expression "two ships that passed in the night." Um, we were really good for each other on a short-term basis, knowing it was not going to last. And having met Allison and, in a way, vicariously her dad, I really had gotten to know, okay, what's ahead for me? What does this mean to be transgender? Beyond the thought, what does it mean to be transgender? What does it mean to transition? How do you transition on the job? Those things, where the rubber meets the road, for lack of a better word. And so that was kind of, again, the next chase, but we knew it was not going to last. And it came to an end. She joined the military. I went back to school at the University of Florida. And I'm trying to think of the next chase. I had, I'll say, two relationships. Well, yeah, I had two serious relationships when I was at University of Florida. Um, the first one was with a girl named Jenna, who uh, you see before you. Jenna was future me. Jenna was a really down to earth girl. I would consider her to be the term's granola. She would be a pagan if she could get over the fact that it's pagan. She was into role playing. She was into models. She was into painting. She was into all of the things that I wanted to do and I wanted to be and how I wanted to look. She always had long hair. She always wore granny skirts. She was the woman that I wanted to be. And I loved her. I really did. I asked her to marry me. And she said no. Smartly. And that was, there's three. That was a large part of the pursuit. And knowing that I was trans, and Jenna knew that I was trans, and it was also the first relationship where the girl knew that I was transgender, and it was an unsolved issue that I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know, you know, it was an unsolved part of my life, and Jenna was willing to accept. Well, she wasn't willing to accept it because she didn't marry me, but she didn't turn me away immediately. Um, so after the second marriage proposal that she said no to, I said, well, okay, if you're not going to marry me, there must be something about our relationship that's not right. So I broke it off. And I would meet up with her about 5 or 6 years after that, and she was getting married. And it was when I was in the theater department, and I was going to transition any day now. It was kind of fun to run back into her and find out she was getting married. So then the next chase was another girl, and I'm trying to remember her name, Stacy. And that was probably the closest that I ever came to getting married up until that point. Um, I hid, at that point I had purged, and I hid a lot of myself away back in a box. I had a drawer in my room where I kept all my makeup, I kept all my clothes, I kept my granny skirts, and it was my drawer. And I remember the day that Stacy moved in with me, I put my drawer in a box. And I put the box way up in the top of the closet. Now I'm 6 foot tall. She was 5'2". So by putting the box way up and way back, she'd have to ask for me to get it. So it was a safety precaution, and I really did a terrible disjustice to her because I'm gonna say I lied to her, but I had shelved it, and it didn't work out. We broke up, but we were engaged. We were going to get married. We made plans and everything else. And as it turns out, at the time, I had just finished my undergraduate degree. I got a degree in geology with a minor in physics and secondary education. I was on my way to be a science teacher, and the transgender bug just jumped out again. I was like, I'm trans. You can't get married. This isn't right. You got to be truthful. And at the same time, I realized, being a science school teacher, I was not going to be able to transition and keep my job. But there was a chase. There was a pursuit. We had sex. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it, etc., etc. I would still imagine myself as the woman in the sexual encounter. I wanted to be penetrated. I wanted to be felt, etc., 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 all those things. But there was the chase then. It was pursuit. It was also confirmation. It felt good. It felt right, etc., etc. And I remember it was the weekend that not Princess Diana died. That's when we broke up, because I was transgender and I was sitting on the edge of the bed, and I can remember watching the news about Princess Diana dying, and I turned it off and I just sat there and I said, that's your life. You're dying. If you continue to ignore this, you're dying. You're going to die. Or you're going to end up dead. You're going to kill yourself. And so that was a huge, end of the chase. And then there was one more girl a little while later, about the end of my time at University of Florida, her name was Dawn. She was pretty neat. But again, Dora, I'm sorry. She had no idea that I was trans. And it was like, again, I guess by that point I was sexually active, and I enjoyed it, and I was willing to overlook the trans stuff to have sex. And we never had sex, Dora and I. But I just knew it was not going to work out because I was trans. The next pursuit, there was a couple when I moved up here to Louisville, where I am now. I went to grad school. And again, the idea of a chase, it always ended in the same way. I would get to a certain point with a girl and it would be like, but Robin, you're transgender. Why are you why are you doing this again? Wasn't Stacy and Dora and Jenna, weren't they enough? But I was like, well, how am I gonna do this? And that was the chase. And I had a lull. I had a period of like what I call boxing it, where I'd box my stuff up. I'd purge. I got smart. After I moved up to Louisville, I didn't purge by throwing stuff away. I purged by putting my box. I had a box, same box, putting it up on the shelf. And months would go by, and then I would feel bad, and I'd get out my box and I'd feel wonderful. But then maybe the need of the chase did come, and then I met my ex-wife, and I did something different. I was fully honest. I was fully open and honest with my ex-wife when we met. The first date, I told her I'm transgender. I'm a trans woman, and I've not dealt with this yet. So it was almost like an acid test. I didn't want the relationship to go any farther than the first date if it was not meant to be. And it turns out that let me wet my whistle here. Hang on. Turns out she was cool with it. She was cool with me thinking I'm transgender. And 10 years went by, and as is often the case, the skin started to rot, the false skin started to rot, and the more and more that I got to express myself, the more and more distance that came between us. And it wasn't until after my daughter was born that it really hit, and there are times where I feel like, you know, did I make a mistake? I don't know. Like most folks, we thought that having a child would save our marriage, and it didn't. Our marriage, it turns out that while she was cool with it, as long as it didn't happen, well, that was it. It turns out she was cool with it. Um, she wasn't. And there are some other things that I'm not going to talk about here because I don't want to get sued. But as far as the chase goes, um, no chase. No chase since then. And, that was 5 years ago. And in the 5 years since then, I don't have a sense of the chase. I don't have that pursuit. Um, I don't look at a picture of a guy and I'm going to say George Clooney. I don't get a woman erection. I don't get a wedding over a picture of a guy, and I don't get a wedding over a picture of a girl. I have literally no sexual chase in me. And the pamphlet that I read about the chase talked about that, in maturity, as we get older, we lose that chase and focus that energy on our internal self and on our spirituality and maybe our relationship with God, the world around us, our environment. The environment with an E, the world, climate change, society, but our environment is well, things around us. And the way the pamphlet was written, it almost sounded like when you're immature, you sexually chase after people, and then when you're mature, you don't. And I don't really buy into that. And then someone said, well, maybe that there are different stages and different states of maturity and immaturity, and we live in both of them, and there are pros and cons to each, which is possible. But I guess where I'm at now in my life and where you may be at in your life, and again, your mileage may vary, everyone's transition is different. I don't have a sexual urge for anything. And I can't tell if it's because of, number one, where I'm at in my age and stage. At 48, could you have sexual or romantic chases at 48? Certainly we hope so. God, I hope so. In my situation, like I said, with my daughter, my daughter is going into 8th grade this year. She's in 8th grade. She's going to go into high school next year. So much of my attention is focused on her life, her well-being, and launching her. I want to make sure she has all the skills that she needs to be successful as a young adult in the world. And so I'm kind of on the tail end of parenting, the hands-on stage of parenting. I know I still call my mom. I'm 48. I'm lucky to have her. She's alive. But so I realize parenting is going to go on for several years, if not decades. But this active hands-on, I brought you into this world. I clothed you. I fed you. I watched you grow. That part of this parental experience is coming to a close. And so much of my focus right now is making sure she has all the skills and tools she needs to survive, to be a young lady, to be a young adult on her own. So maybe the chase is kind of on hold. Who's to say that once my daughter goes off to college and is pursuing her own life, and then I'm free to be introspective, and maybe that's when the chase will pick up again. Who's to say that? Is it also possible that for older trans women there is no chase? We know, according to that study that was done in America, only 1.7% of the population would even consider dating a trans woman. So, is it really? I guess we're up to 4 now. Is it really possible to have a chase at this age and stage and point in my life? At the current snapshot of society, there may not. The potential for a chase may be very, very low. And then another aspect is, part of the chase is to be a hot mama. I'm not a hot mama. I'm a cat mom. I'm an old cat lady. I'm a fat, ugly cat woman. And so, yes, I have the ability to exercise and lose some weight, and God knows what else I could do to be more attractive to the other. But I don't think I'm going to do that, to be honest with you, because that's not me. That's not my personality. That's not the granola cat woman the old cat woman that I am. I mean, I am who I am, and I'm not going to change that. So maybe I'm fucked. I want to be fucked, but maybe I'm just screwed over. I don't know. But as far as the chase goes, there may not be another chase. And I guess in retrospect, part of me laments not having that chase. Even though, as we've discussed today, I have been chased once or twice. There was a night at the when I worked for Dollar Tree about 6, 7 months ago. It was a young black man who wanted my phone number, and it took me back. Like, he said, "You want to exchange numbers?" And it took me for a minute, like, what the hell is this about? I'm like, oh, he wants my number. He wants to date me. Um, part of me is just like, this is just not a priority right now in my life. And maybe that fits with all those other 5 other things that I said. There may not be a chase. And I gotta admit, I'm extremely envious of younger trans women who are being pursued or think they are. They post about it in Facebook, do is in a relationship. Do is going on a date. I'm like, wow, good for you. You know, but part of me is really very jealous. You know, and I try not to let that turn me into a bitter old person. But I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. In the same token as I am kind of sad for myself. But I'm mature enough and experienced enough to know that we don't know what the future holds. And certainly the way things are today does not mean that have to be that way forever. So if I had to guess, probably would be once my daughter goes off to school, if she to college or moves out or whatnot. Uh, when she is a young adult on her own, that will free me up to be chased or chase someone. I don't know. And I've said it before, I do think I'm going to meet somebody who's into Dungeons and Dragons, likes Doctor Who, maybe someone who flies airplanes or helicopters, radio control. I mean, I'm going to meet someone with similar interests to me, maybe, and we'll hit it off. On the other hand, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll always be a cat lady. I don't know. I guess I'm excited to find out. It's I can get sad about it if I think about it. And maybe that's something that is part of this experience of being transgender. Um, in so many aspects, for myself, my life has been on hold. Um, I would have liked to have been, wouldn't we all, the girl that I wanted to be when I was younger, or in the flip side of it, a trans man probably wanted to be a boy when they were younger and experience. You know, we wish we were. We lament and are saddened by the fact that we'll never experience the stereotypical binary things that were denied to us because of our uh, inability to be in the right body. You know what I mean? Uh, I lament. I think it's sad, and I miss. You know, not being able to be girlfriends with Chrissy across the street, or to be friends with Amy as she grew up, or to be, part of the girls that put the makeup on in my gifted class, or to be a cheerleader at a basketball game, or to be a Girl Scout, or to be a young woman, to, you know, go through monarchy. All the things that are things that I have observed or stereotypical mileposts of a young woman's life. And it saddens me where I am right now. Not to the point that it's going to keep me from moving forward, but I have to acknowledge it and be sad and cry, you know. And I think I've mentioned this too. I had a cousin, Kelly, who died of cystic fibrosis when she was in middle school, and she's beautiful, young girl, and her life was cut. Her life was cut short. And in the same way that little Robin, little Karen, she didn't get to live either. But I'm alive now. My cousin Kelly isn't. And that's the difference. Woo! Whew. Boy, that's two issues of things I didn't realize I suppressed. But the end result, as always, we come back to make the best of what you got. Make the best of what you have with what you got. And to go forward looking at what you can do, the changes that you can make. And be thankful that we have that. Whatever time we have left, embrace it. Embrace it. But as far as the chase goes, there's still hope for the future. Even though things look pretty damn bleak right now, as far as the chase goes for me. But maybe not for you. And like I said, who knows? Who knows what happens in the future? I do know a couple people right now. See, but I don't have that sexual. I just don't have a sexual urge or attraction to anything or anybody. You know what I mean? Like growing up, you could say, "Oh, Captain Kirk, he was pretty hot," or uh, Kirk got all the women, even the green bitches, the Orion slave girls. Kirk was a hottie. Um, I can't think of anybody. Maybe Alan Rickman. I don't know. He's dead. Hans Gruber. Where are my detonators? Um, I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I've gone kind of long on this. But I thought it was worth mentioning, and obviously it's been very therapeutic for me to think about the chase and times in my life that I've been chased and that I've pursued others. In the society that I was raised in, it was the boys who chased the girls. And growing up as a young trans gal, a trans girl that never got to be a girl, um, I didn't get to experience that, but I didn't really have anyone I was chasing after. And as a trans woman, there's really nobody now I'm not even attracted to. I can't think of the ideal. Who would be the ideal? You know, I have some friends, and it'd be kind of cool to move in and share expenses, but a romantic relationship, shit. I just don't know. Maybe that. I mean, I can think of one person right now who I'm not going to mention by name, but you know, in my mind's eye, I think it would be cool to, we have a lot of common interests, and maybe in that there's room for a seed to be developed that may blossom into a romantic relationship or just a relationship. You know, how much of a marriage is. How much of it is sexual attractive and how much of it is comfort, where we're comfortable. We're just comfortable with each other and what we want to do. And part of me wonders if I'll ever. I mean, it's something I want, but there's a lot of freedom in getting to do whatever you want to do. Getting to do. My daughter right now is visiting my ex-wife and spending the night and whatnot. And I think about where I was before I was married and where I might be in a couple years and having more freedom. I don't know if I'm ready to be with someone else and to give up some of my own personal freedom to be in a relationship with someone else. And maybe it'll take a couple years of that. And then once that gets, ho hum, I'm bored with it. Then the chase may start back up again. I don't know. My current dream is to retire and live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and grow bumblebees. I want to be a bee farmer. I don't necessarily know about a beekeeper, but I want to plant plants and attract butterflies and bees and let them just go wild. Hopefully they won't sting me, but maybe a little bit of honey harvesting, but just be natural. And again, that's up my alley. That's my granola hippie chick. That's my friend Jenna. That I just fell in love with her, and I wanted to be just like her, and I have. I mean, I'm fulfilled. She was a model of the woman that I am, and I wanted to be at the time. And I'm very thankful that I get to be who and what I am. And yeah. Anyway, Food for thought, maybe. So, what is the chase? Are you chased? Do you enjoy being chased? Do you enjoy doing the chasing? And where you're at in your transition, are you being chased? Do you want to be chased? I don't know. All right, till next time, my friends. Good luck to you in your transition, as always. Uh, be the. I wish you the best of luck in becoming your authentic self as you define it, whether you're chased or not. All right, till next time. Goodbye, bye. Peace out.